It's now 2 Premier League wins in a row at Wembley. The momentum is starting to shift. This is your e-Spurs podcast.
Come on, you Spurs! 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 Tottenham, top!
Hello, good evening and welcome. My name's Dan Tracy and once again I'll be your host for the next hour or so and we're going to be talking all things Tottenham. As always, I'm joined by my right-hand man, James McCarthy. James, how are you, mate?
Excellent, mate. Yeah, we've had a really good week, and hopefully it can continue.
Yes, fingers crossed. And I'm also joined by 2 great guests. Another James, so it might get a little bit confusing, but we'll hopefully get our way through the next hour or so. James T, how are you, mate?
Really good, thanks, Dan. I think I actually enjoyed my trip to Wembley yesterday for, well, what's been pretty rare recently. But yeah, no, it's been a great week, as James said. Yep,
it's starting to become a fun experience Wembley all of a sudden. So long may that continue. And also joining us on the show tonight is Kev Selley. Kev, how are you, mate?
Very well, thank you, guys. Still buzzing pretty much from yesterday and the Real Madrid game. So yeah, today's going to be fun.
I think we're still in that sort of... we're just enjoying it really, aren't we? After sort of the... We'll go back to Madrid. I know a lot has been said since Tuesday, but I've not spoken to yourself, Kev, or James, so I'll just take your views on it. Kev, I'll go to you first. What's your take on last Tuesday?
Running out of things to say really about this team. I mean, especially when I first saw the team lineup, I was like most people would probably be a little bit. I weren't quite sure what to expect, especially with I was thinking, okay, this maybe might be a little bit too much of a big game for Winks, as well as he's doing. I was thinking he's going up against 2 of the best midfielders around, in Modric and Cruz, so I was thinking, okay, that's probably not going to work. And then he had the fact he's got Llorente up there with Kane. I just weren't sure, but it worked absolutely brilliant. It was a brilliant tactical performance. Defence was absolutely fantastic. Kane, again, working his arse off, and I just thought we was absolutely superb. And to get something out of it, nobody really thought we was going to, did they? But it was a brilliant performance,
Absolutely. And James T, what's your take on all things Bernabeu?
It was an amazing performance throughout the team. I think from back to front, we worked hard, and the tactics were spot on. Pochettino hasn't always been known as a tactical manager since he kind of started with us. But I think especially the last 2 results, we've seen some tactical changes from him that have really made a difference and won us the game. Against Real Madrid, obviously, there was, the team sheet came out and I think Llorente's playing and it was all a little bit, are we going to be all right here? But I think you got it spot on. Llorente did tie up their 2 centre-halves. That gave a little bit more space for Kane to get in and get the ball. And one thing I think Pochettino identified was if you keep the ball up the pitch and hold possession, you haven't got to defend. And against a team like Real Madrid, you can't keep having it coming back because they will score. I think we rode our luck a little bit. 9 times out of 10, Benzema probably scores and Ronaldo puts that in rather than hitting the post. But on the whole, really good performance. No one seemed overawed by it. I think Vertonghen, who is probably one of our most underrated players, had a really good game and was really up for it and showed the experience now that he probably didn't have a few years ago, a little bit more maturity about him. And the experience of people like Winks is going to be invaluable, especially as at the moment we're looking like we're going to be up there challenging for the title again.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that front. James McCarthy, do you want to add anything else?
I think I really have. I've said everything that needs to be said. We had a quick show last week, didn't we, Dan? Because we were too excited to wait until this show to kind of put our point across. And yeah, I mean the boys have said it completely. Players like Harry Winks, who were nowhere near the first team last year, and now they're competing at the highest level of European football. Is something really for us to be proud of. And I think that's the main things that we're just really proud of the boys at the moment.
Right, that's it. No more Madrid talk, but we've still got some good talk to focus on for the rest of the show. First, I'll just do all the social media bits, then we can have a clear crack at everything else. So subscribe to iTunes or Acast, and you'll get the show directly as soon as it's released. So you've got no excuses for not listening. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at e_Spurs. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/e-Spurs page, and we're also on YouTube, Pinterest and Tumblr. So for all the links to all the e-Spurs platforms, just head over to the website e-Spurs.com and you'll just have everything in front of you, and then it's all there and you can crack on. So it was a good start to the week on Tuesday. Dare I say a perfect end to the week on Sunday. 4-1. I think you could say that Dejan Lovren had a Dejan Lovren of all sort of days. It wasn't a good day for him, but we took full advantage. James T, there seems to be just no stopping Harry Kane at the moment, is there?
No, I think with the amount of superlatives we've given him the last couple of weeks, like the Real Madrid game, you can't really say any more about it. He was clinical again in front of goal yesterday, which I mentioned the other week has been the difference from sometimes you've seen us draw games against Liverpool or struggle against Liverpool. He was absolutely outstanding. Again, Pochettino's tactics before the game. I think Dyer had an illness during the week, which is why he was left on the bench. And we ended up with 3 across the middle, slightly deeper than usual. But with Son and Kane playing in the front too, the pace on the counter-attack was what undid them. And with Lovren looking like he was towing a caravan through most of the first part of the first half that he was on. Kane just absolutely tore him apart, and he's deceptively quick for his size. And I just think that they look scared of him, and I think he made them nervous, which is already a defence which has probably not got a lot of confidence, to be fair, with the media and what they say about them. And Kane, clinical for the first one. Son, great finishing. One of the differences this year is when Kane was in that position to cross the Sun, I had no doubt we were going to score from it. Whereas in previous years, you kind of look and go, oh, we might get something out of this, and we'd put it over the bar, or Kane's ball wouldn't have been spot on. But now you know that the ball that's coming in the box is going to be quality, and whoever's on the end of it's going to put it away. And we could have been 3-0 up a couple of minutes after that when Son hit the bar. But great performance all round. Yeah,
I mean, it was a relentless start, really. Obviously, taking full advantage of mistakes that were made, but sometimes you don't take advantage, and sometimes it costs you later down the line. So you look at, say, for example, the possession stats, Kev. 36% possession over the whole course of the game. It's making kind of a mockery of the whole Tottenham need possession to win games, because it's a very similar figure when we beat Dortmund at home. So where's this sort of? Is it a huge killer instinct, I guess, for not having the ball so much?
Well, I mean, we've seen it a few times, haven't we, now this season? And I mean, you think about it, I don't think we could have done that last season. Like, the way we give the other team the possession and then hit them on the counter attack. And I just think it's obviously been working on it in pre-season, working on these different types of tactics, I would have thought. And the fact that we do give possession away to the other opposition, and the players that we have in our team, and the wing backs, the way they get forward so quickly, and as the other guys are saying, Son is so quick, and when you got Eriksen in there, Dele Alli, these players, they're very deadly when it gets to the final third. It is, it's not normally like the way we normally play with Spurs. We like to have the ball, but I mean, we've got so many different ways of playing now. That's one of the things I like about us at the moment. We've got so many different formations that it seems to put in there every single week. Different players, different positions, and it's really working, and it really worked again on Sunday. We didn't need much of the ball, but when we had it, we did a lot with it.
James M. Harry Kane, I'm looking at his goal chances, the amount he's having per game. It's working out at 6 per match. This is quite phenomenal, really, when you compare it to people like Morata, Lacazette, Lukaku, just 4. It's almost, dare I say, getting to sort of Messi, Ronaldo levels. It's that kind of... Can we finally say he's world-class now? Can that be put to bed? Is he right up there?
I think certainly you can't have a player who's been this consistent now, it's going on 4 seasons, how he's found the net so consistently. And I think that a big part of that is obviously the service that he's getting. He's getting so much ball, he's getting so many chances in the attacking third, and that's down to people like Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli. But there's an awful lot that's still left on Harry Kane. I think the one that sums it up for me is probably his last goal, his second goal, and Spurs' 4th goal, is that, you could call him a tap-in merchant. You could call him, he only scores from inside the 6-yard box. But I think the whole point is that he's just got that instinct that he's always in and around the box, and he's always going to be there to score. It's something that the likes of Shearer and people like that always had. Not every goal that you score can be a 40-yard screamer. It just happens to be that when the ball falls to him in the 6-yard box, he's right there on top of it, and you just don't ever think he's going to miss.
Long may it continue this form. I mean, there's a slight scare at the end with the cramp, is it? I mean, whether he plays on Wednesday due to the strength of the team that will be picked, we'll touch on that later. But I mean, there's a bit of a heart-in-mouth situation. But there was also a heart-in-mouth situation when Hugo Lloris was called to make in another quality save. It's 2 in a week. Which one was the better for you, James T? Was it the one at the Bernabeu or the one yesterday?
I think probably the one yesterday. The Bernabeu one was very much instinct. It was right in front of him, and it was his instinct to throw a leg out. We saw one against Leverkusen last year that was absolutely unbelievable save, and Lloris has got that in his locker to do it. I think he's had a little bit of not perhaps criticism from some areas this year. We know his distribution is probably only slightly better than what Gomez's was. He's not too bad with the ball at his feet, but he does struggle at times to get rid of it into the right areas. I think the way we play probably doesn't help his distribution. It doesn't help him look good in the fact that we do play quite a pressurised game and we have to get the ball out to our fullbacks and we like to keep the ball short. So you're always going to get mistakes when you're playing that kind of high risk. But in terms of Lloris, the criticisms he's had have probably been slightly unfair. He's always got a world-class save in him. And a good keeper, they say they'll get you 12 points a season. Lloris does it year in, year out. The one on Sunday was, Coutinho looked probably their most threatening player throughout the game and hit it was a good shot. And for that one, it wasn't so much an instinct save, that was a pure shot stop. Lloris' form at the moment is right up there, and it's nice to see him coming to take crosses. Actually, one of the goals that came straight from Lloris was him coming for a cross, and rather than a continental, flying punch at it, he caught the ball, bowled it straight out, and it got Kane on the attack. And he does give us that. He does give us that getting an attack moving quickly, which is another reason why I still think he's up there as one of the world's best. Yeah,
you're absolutely right in the sense it goes a different option yesterday, and sometimes you want something just a quick break. I don't know if they'd identified Lovren after already being sort of shaky really early on. They thought, if we can just hammer him down that flank, and obviously we reap the rewards. But Kev, in terms of Sergio Aurier, obviously he was at fault for the penalty award on Tuesday night. What was your take on how he played yesterday? I thought he had a better game, sort of almost redeemed himself, and also playing out of position. You mustn't forget. I thought he was solid enough yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was good yesterday. I do. He still has a tendency to, he's got a bit erratic, isn't he? He's a bit erratic sometimes. He definitely needs to sort of discipline out a little bit. Obviously, during the week at Real Madrid, didn't really need to make that tackle, especially when Toby was coming in there on Cruz. But I think he's going to, in the long run, I do think he's going to be a really good player for us. He's such an athlete. He gets up and down the pitch so quickly. Where he was playing that position at left back, I thought he did really well, considering. But I think in the long run, I think he's going to be a really big player for us, definitely.
Yeah, I think there are going to be times where he's going to frustrate, but you've got to also remember he's bending into a new team, and so as long as these aberrations don't happen too often, then you can sort of let them slide. But yeah, I think it's certainly a positive, because you've got to remember also getting sent off against West Ham's not the great way to endear yourself to a new sort of team's fan base either.
I think you've just got to think about how many times Danny Rose frustrated us a few years ago.
That's true. For him
Very true. Gone a long time, and now we're all begging for him to come back, as long as he doesn't give any more interviews to the Sun. But yeah, that's how us football fans are very fickle, and I think you've got to just accept that we are. I hate to be the one to break it to us. We are a little bit fickle. When things are going our way, we're their biggest fans, and as soon as something turns, then we're quick to turn on them. And Danny Rose is just a success story.
Talking of football fans, that leads us quite nicely into the listeners' question. So good segue there, James. I'll throw the first one open to you. It's from @SamuelForrell on Twitter. So Samuel, thanks for sending your question. He's asking, would you keep Winks in the starting 11 when Dembele and Wanyama are fit?
I think at the moment, a player like Harry Winks, he's probably feeding off the confidence of playing so well and being part of a winning team. And I think it would be foolish for us to change that just because the players suddenly become available. Dembele and Wanyama have both obviously struggled for fitness this year, and I'm sure they know as well as the rest of us that they're not going to be able to walk straight back into this team. They're going to have to work hard. They're not going to be fully fit to start with anyway. Match fit, certainly not. And Harry Winks is playing some absolutely brilliant football at the moment. They probably sat at home watching the Real Madrid game thinking, oh bollocks, how are we going to get into this team? Because he's absolutely running the show in the midfield of Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. And I think for us to drop someone like Harry Winks now, I think even he would probably turn around and be like, what more can I do? I'm running the show against Real Madrid. I'm getting my first England cap and running the show there. So really, for me, I think Harry Winks is probably the man to keep in the squad, and it's up to Dembele and Wanyama to prove that they're worth getting back on the pitch.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest, James. I think a player who's done that in Madrid and then is growing in confidence and stature every week, it's unfair to then say we'll hoik you straight out as soon as what you put in inverted commas first team players are fit. So it's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it? So we shouldn't complain. Another Twitter's question is from OKL1970. Firstly, he says the back four of Hugo, Jan, Toby and Sanchez is class. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But he also asks James T, what factors contribute to the upswing in Wembley form?
I don't think there's any one contribution that's done it. I just think the games Liverpool came at a good time off the back of Real Madrid. The atmosphere was definitely better in there yesterday than it has been certainly for the Bournemouth game, where it was all a little bit flat and there was no real atmosphere build up. The fans had a go at it yesterday, trying to build a decent atmosphere in there. I think the players are just getting used to it. Like you do wherever you go. You know, if you move ground, it takes a little while to get used to the size of the pitch, to get used of, you know, picking points of the stadium. I think Alderweireld was saying one thing they missed at White Hart Lane was he used to know, because the advertising hoardings, if he hit a ball that way, that's, you know, it would land exactly where he wanted it to. Which they, you know, when you first move, you're not going to have that. It is just a case of getting used to the stadium, I think, and now there's a little bit of confidence. It's obviously going to be the back of their mind that the media are playing up, you know, it's Wembley hoodoo, and let's face it, the media don't seem to want us to do any good and keep any of our players. And I think just the way they built it up does play on their minds when they're out there. There's been a marked improvement, and I think certainly the Dortmund game gave them good confidence, and then we've just carried that on since then now.
And Kev, the final listener's question this week is from Eros70, and he asked, what minute did you feel the game was safe? For him, he reckons it on 77 minutes. Bit of a precise minute there, I don't quite know why. But what's your take? When was it all done and dusted?
Well, the Liverpool game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the third goal made a big difference, isn't it, just before half-time. Once Dele Alli scored that, you could just tell he just sucked the life out of Liverpool. When he got into the second half, I thought we controlled it, really. There was, I would say, yeah, probably about the 70th, 80th minute, something like that. It was probably safe, because once the Reece made that save as well, we just kind of rode the game out, really. And again, just another very professional performance, and I think they played really well.
I mean, as a Spurs fan, I think you learn that the game is never, ever, ever safe. 4-1 down in the 92nd minute, I was still pretty certain we were going to mess it up. So until that final whistle goes, Tottenham Hotspur can do anything, and I think that's kind of what they've done to us over the years. Is that I'm still behind the sofa. If it was 5-0, I'd still be there.
Even if you took away the doom and gloom element and looked at the stats themselves, even they're in a sort of misleading picture, because Liverpool had 12 shots yesterday, 7 on target, but a lot of them were sort of reduced from outside the box in the last sort of 15 minutes, kind of pot shots. So it doesn't really sort of tell the tale of the tape, really. But I've got an additional question. We'll see, I'm a podcast host, so I should have lots, but here's the next one. We're a quarter of the season in now. Not Harry Kane, you're allowed to pick. Who's been your player of the first quarter of the season and why? So, James T, I'll ask you first.
That's quite a tough one to pick up straight away. I think Jan Vertonghen. I really think he's had a great start to the season. I think he's probably overshadowed Alderweireld a little bit. He's grown into his role. You know, he signed the contract now that's pretty much going to see him through to the end of his career with Tottenham. And he's settled down. He's just playing consistent. You know, goes about his business, does his job as he should. And I think, yeah, Jan Vertonghen for me for the first part of the season has probably been one of the standout players.
And Kev, the same question to you.
Probably Ben Davies, I'd probably say. Obviously, we missed him the last couple of games, but before then, he's been absolutely excellent for me. He's improved so much. I don't think anyone really thought he would be as good as what he is, especially when Rose was out. Everyone was a bit concerned when Rose got injured. But again, he's just so assured. He's so good in defence going forward. He puts a good cross in the box. And he works really hard. So for me, I would definitely say Ben Davies, yeah.
And James M to finish the clean sweep.
For me, it's Christian Eriksen. I think a lot of the players in the Tottenham squad you could probably replace if we had to. If you took a Ben Davies out, you could put a Danny Rose or a Sergio Aurier in. If you took out Harry Kane, God help us, we could probably put in Llorente. But for me, Christian Eriksen is a player who's completely irreplaceable. If you take him out of the squad, I think we completely lack just that real immature, the guy who makes us click. And he's really come of age this season. I think so this season could probably be his defining season. Just a constant reel of goals and assists, and really more importantly, important goals. His goals have historically always won us games. And I think if you ever took him out of the squad, I think we'd really struggle. But just to end on, I think it's great that we've picked 3 different players as our potential player of the season. And then there's another couple that we could probably throw into the hat there as well, along with the obvious Harry Kane. So the fact that we've got people scrapping for player of the season, it's a really good place to be in.
Yes, and ultimately it just shows how successful the team is performing at the moment. Long may it continue. And I'll ask the questions again halfway through the season, so you can sort of see whether a mind has been changed or you're just going to stick with your 3 picks at the moment. So we'll have to sort of see how that pans out over the next couple of months. And also, how will Wednesday pan out? It's West Ham at Wembley, so another home game, and this momentum is looking positive in terms of results. So the big question is really, how strong a lineup do we go for? It's the Carabao Cup. Obviously, Poch has already said bottom of the list of priorities. But then again, it might be one of, or if not the most realistic opportunity of winning a trophy. So, James T, how do you pitch this one?
Well, for West Ham, it's going to be at Wembley. It's definitely a cup final from now, even though they think it's a cup final every time we play them in the league. And at Wembley, their fans are going to be very confused. I think we've got such a depth in our squad and plenty of backup players that will get some decent minutes. So, Lamella's come back from injury. They were talking about he might just about make the bench. Rose, when he came on against Madrid, looked like he'd been enjoying himself for a little bit. I think one thing when you come back into a Pochettino team is no matter how fit you are as a person, you can't come straight back in from injury because of the demands of the way we play. You've got to have a good run of games to get yourself fit. And I think West Ham will probably provide some valuable minutes for people like Rose. Llorente, I'd imagine, will start. I think Kane won't be anywhere near the stadium. I would have thought he'd be left at home and told to just kind of have a rest. I'd like to see Son get some minutes. I think he's a really good asset that we got with Son. I don't think he's always as consistent as he could be, but most of the time when he plays, you get a decent reaction from him, and he creates chances, and he's always got a goal in him. I wouldn't have thought Pochettino would go too young with the squad. He's not one to do a bit of a Wenger and chuck in a load of the reserve team or a load of the youth team that you've never heard of. I think it'll be probably the fringe players that start the game, and I would hope that it's strong enough to beat West Ham, because I would have thought Bilic is going to put out his first 11 because he's fighting for his job. So no, I think even the fringe team should manage to beat West Ham pretty comfortably.
I was going to say, Kev, with West Ham's result on Friday night, are they there for the taking? But then James has probably just validated the comment and said, well, no, they're probably going to really want to go for this one. So how difficult can you see this one being?
I think we'll be okay. But yeah, of course they're going to be up for it because, like they said, it's the cup final, isn't it? And they're probably going to want to go for it in this and the Caballero Cup. I think they'll be up for it, but I think we'll be okay. I mean, we've got a lot of good players that can come in there. Like we just said, Danny Rose, probably play Lamella, hopefully, get Son up there, Llorente. Probably nice to see Foyth maybe at the back. I think there's enough strength in depth there to put them aside, to be honest. Hopefully it's a nice, easy win.
And James M, I guess in the round before against Barnsley, Poch is almost sort of managing expectations with the lineup he put out, and as if to say, okay, well, we're in it obviously, but if we go out, then it's not really the end of the world. But if you then go on and beat West Ham, does it all of a sudden, do things change? You think, well, actually, hang on, why don't we just have a proper crack at this?
Yeah, I think it's certainly, you get to a certain point in the competition, then you switch and think, this is definitely one that we should be going to win. I mean, historically, I've always been a big fan of Spurs winning trophies. Like, we have the whole debate about which, whether we should go for it in all competitions or maybe save some players for the Premier League, this, that, and the other. I think, I love to see Spurs going for it. I really want to. I really want a day out at Wembley. I really want a proper day out at Wembley, a proper cup final day out at Wembley. But I think in the past, it's something that Pochettino's been quite good at, is that he doesn't ever just play all the kids. He doesn't ever just play the whole first team. He's very good at kind of integrating and getting people who wouldn't usually be involved, but not in at the deep end. If he does go and play a set of kids and they get beat by West Ham at home, they're going to get an awful lot of stick. Heads are going to go down. I think it more than likely be, as has already been said, it will be a lot of fringe players, but also, a couple of first teamers in there who maybe need to play for their place. And then we've got quite a lot of that going on in the squad, and it probably will have quite a good effect on the team. The fact that people like Danny Rose, people like Moussa Dembele, they need to work hard to regain their places in this team. And what a better game to do it in than against West Ham in their, as you say, in their cup final.
James T, if you sort of opens out to the wider cup, so FA Cup as well, could the fact we're playing at Wembley this season actually be a huge advantage? Not assuming you're going to get a home draw every round the length you're in it, but could that be something that pushes you all the way, like to a final, and actually going on and winning something?
It's got to be in Poch's mind with the media constantly banging on about, oh, you haven't won anything, you can't be classed as world class or a great team without winning anything. It's a massive opportunity for us. If you can get to the semis of the FA Cup or you get to the final of the Mickey Mouse Cup, then you can, there's a chance there. You're at home ground to win it, and I think it's important for us to win it is important to win a trophy. And if we can get through West Ham, and it's a very short run to the final, in the League Cup, and I think that's a really good chance for us to get a trophy on the board. And all of a sudden, it just quietens the media down for a little while. It settles the players down. They've won a trophy, so people can stop throwing that at them. Even though I'm sure Greenwich will throw it at us, it's in the League Cup or whatever, but it's still a trophy, and it's still that mentality that we've won something. And from there, you grow. You've got to start somewhere. So yeah, I think, and certainly playing at Wembley, we're used to it. So if we did get to a final, you'd have to put us as favourites against anyone in the league. We can beat anyone on our day, and I think that would probably give us the advantage we need. But we've got to make sure we take it serious enough to get to the final in the first place.
Yes, that's right. And Kev, I know people go, it's only the Carabao Cup, but from the sort of wider landscape of Tottenham as a club, winning that trophy, that in itself could be something big enough just to keep players there over the summer and into next season and beyond. Yeah,
definitely. As the guys just said, that could really, quiet up the media a little bit, get them off their backs a little bit, because they do keep going on about the need to win something, need to win this. So it could definitely help. Maybe looking towards the end of the season, maybe if we are challenging for the league or wherever we are in the Champions League, who knows? It could help massively. So I definitely want to see them give it a go, and it will help, hopefully, from that, if we was to win that, and we can maybe go on and, who knows, try and win the FA Cup as well, and that just changes everything, doesn't it? And hopefully next season, the players look at that, okay, well, we've won something, and who knows what we can win on from here. So I think that I'd like to see them go for it. I definitely would. I know it's not on the list of priorities compared to some of the others, but as the guys are saying, it's another trophy, isn't it?
James M., it sounds like by the sounds of it, we're going to win the Champions League, compete for the FA Cup and the League Cup, and probably finish in the top two of the league at the moment. So, on the flip side, have we got the squad to compete on many fronts, or is we just lacking a little bit of depth, or can we sort of pretty much go for everything that we're in?
Well, yeah, you're forgetting that we're going to go to Russia and win the World Cup as well, mate.
That is true.
That's another one that you can add to your list. I think what Pochettino does is he's built an incredibly fit bunch of footballers, and I think that when we're thinking of a couple of years back when players couldn't play, I'm thinking of Ledley King, and he only had one game a week in him at best. But I think this team now is full of young athletes, and I feel like they've probably got 2 games a week in them. Fair enough if we're going away to the Bernabeu every week and then playing Liverpool at home the week after, the weekend. I think that might be pushing it a little bit. But a West Ham at home, I don't think that they're going to be pushing it too much, to be honest. And I think we've certainly got players who do an awful lot of running and a lot of work on the pitch. And I think they've definitely got a lot more football in them that we think. That being said, rotation is really important. And as you say, we can't compete on all front playing the same 11 week in, week out. But we are lucky enough to have the resources to bring in players. I'm thinking of players like Dembele, and I really want to see Kyle Walker-Peters back on the pitch after the way he started the season. I think it'd be unfair not to give him a chance, really, after he started that game against Newcastle so well, came out with man of the match, and then we haven't really seen him since. And so I think as a reward for that, he should definitely get some more minutes on the pitch. And we've got a lot of players like that who should be really knocking on the door of the first team, and then young players who should be knocking on the door of the first team squad, because Pochettino, he works wonders with these kids, and hopefully he can bring another few. Yeah,
let's hope the conveyor belt keeps producing. But James T, obviously with Saturday in mind, will Pochettino sort of be making those changes? Because if you think you've got Madrid, Liverpool, West Ham and Man United all in the space of a week and a half, so 10 days give or take, that's a lot of football to be cramming in. Something's got to give, really. So, can we see the changes, and do we have to perhaps sort of temper our mood slightly and make West Ham slight favourites?
I'd then make West Ham favourites. No, I think we've probably got 2 11s. And we've got a big enough depth of squad to cope with all the games coming up. I think if you look through our team, you can replace most positions with a like-for-like player. The big one you can't is Harry Kane. That's the one position we've probably got to protect. We've played without Ali, not really had a problem. Eriksen's been off his game probably for the last couple of games, and we've not really had an issue. Danny Rose has been out. We've replaced him pretty well. So the squad depth as a whole is pretty good. But there's that key position, probably Lloris as well. If you take Kane and Lloris out, or they become injured, then that's when we've got a problem. I think he will certainly weaken. No, it will be a weakened team that plays on Wednesday. There won't be Harry Kane. But when you look at it 1 to 11 on Wednesday, I think from the team sheet you'll see that we should be far too strong to beat West Ham. Regardless of who we put out there, really, from any of the 25-man squad that we got.
Okay, then can I get a prediction from you first, then, James T?
3-0 Tottenham.
Wow, 3-0 has gone big. And Kev, yourself?
Yeah, same 3-0.
3-0. And what about you, James M?
I think you know what's coming, mate.
Do it.
I think it might be 3-0, and I think there's a certain player who might actually grab his hat trick this week.
Is this the one? Is it going to be the Sissoko hat trick?
I think it might be. This
Right.
is the week where
Okay,
Sissoko
so
scores a hat trick.
everyone's gone 3-0. Why not? I'll go 3-0 as well. So we could all be right or all wrong. We'll have to see how Wednesday pans out. But the tail end of the week takes us to Old Trafford, and it's second place third, but it's only goal difference stopping us. Had we won 9-0 on Sunday, we would have gone second, but we can't have it all, unfortunately. But yes, Old Trafford Saturday. James T, what's your take on the upcoming match?
It's going to be quite an interesting one, I think, because if Mourinho decides to park the bus, I think we've seen the last couple of games we can play really good counter-attacking football. We have against Dortmund, we've done it against Liverpool, we did it against Real Madrid. So we can go there and set ourselves up to play the counter-attack. It depends on what Mourinho does. Historically, when he comes up against someone he's a bit fearful of, park the bus, get a draw, keep it nice and tight, and we could end up just cancelling each other out. Hopefully, Pochettino, will think about that and maybe have a plan B if we do go counter-attacking and all of a sudden we turn up and they've parked the bus and they're not interested in playing. And it'll be see how far we've come. The last 2 years we've been to Old Trafford, we literally just haven't turned up for whatever reason. We've either been kind of overawed or I don't know whether we've just we just haven't turned up. I think we lost 3-0 the year before last. And then last year was 1-0 with obviously Kane losing ball on the halfway line, and we haven't really put any good performances in there. Certainly for the last 2 years, we had a good run. A couple of years before that, with under Bale and Vertonghen and Dempsey got a couple of goals. I think this one's going to be quite tight. And Mourinho being as cagey as he is, I wouldn't have thought it's going to be a particularly open game. And again, it could be a game of single-digit chances. So if one falls to Kane and he's as clinical as he has been, then I can see us going up there and getting a result.
And Kev, after the results we've had in the sort of most recent week or so, would you be disappointed with only a draw?
Yeah, but I would take a draw, Old Trafford, like James T's saying. I mean, you don't know what Mourinho's going to set up a team like, and he does tend to park the bus a bit when he's a bit fearful of someone. So it depends on what kind of system they play, because it is quite frustrating when we're playing against someone who puts everybody behind the ball, as we noticed at the beginning of Wembley, in the beginning of the season. But I'll definitely take a draw, but I definitely think we can go there and win. Sure, I think we're on fire at the moment, aren't we? And Kane's scoring so many goals. Everybody's playing so well. Definitely think we can get a win, but I would take a draw. I reckon it would probably be 1-1, to be honest.
James M, we as a club have won the last 4 in the league. Not lost since the second game of the season against Chelsea, so that's now 7 unbeaten. And Man United have only got 1 point from 6, so the momentum is certainly with us. Are United on the ropes, or are they going to be a wounded beast and want to look to bounce back?
Well, I think, as the boys say, I think it all depends on how Mourinho sets up. Obviously, Spurs are going to probably set up quite predictably with the same team that's been winning game after game. But if you watch United against Huddersfield this weekend, if they line up with Lindelof and Smalling again, that's what Huddersfield did to them. What can Harry Kane do to them? The possibilities are endless. And so you're right in saying that if Mourinho wants to park the bus, 9 times out of 10 he does. And you saw that against Liverpool when his first real test of the season, because United hadn't been tested at all up until then. When they played against Liverpool, he did park the bus. It did make for an incredibly boring game, but they got the point. And they got a clean sheet and they got the point. So if Mourinho decides that he wants to do that against Spurs, he more than likely will, because it's another test and they don't really like being tested. Yeah, they'll beat the likes of Everton, Crystal Palace 4-0, but as soon as they come up against a bigger and better opposition, then they kind of crumble and they kind of just fall in on themselves. But for me, I think Spurs, we've come up against sides who parked the bus before. Whenever a side who's been afraid of us has come to White Hart Lane or come to Wembley, they're not scared to put 10 men behind the ball, and Spurs have more than likely found a way to break that down. I feel like if United do the same thing this week, then we probably can.
In terms of, say if we were to go on and beat Man United, that would be 6 points from 6 over the last 2 games. It's a question I asked last week. So I'll ask you, James T and Kev. If you then move second, can you then start to really believe about a title race, or is it really going to be a case of Man City and the rest this season?
We're definitely in with a shout. I'd say Man City haven't been tested just yet. Looking at the games they played, I don't think they've really come up against anyone that difficult. They played Chelsea, who decided to take their striker, or didn't have a striker for 3/4 of the game. And again, they did drop points in. Kyle Walker was sent off possibly a little bit harshly against Everton. So I don't think they've been overly tested. But having said that, they do look pretty awesome at the moment, and their stats look pretty amazing. We've just got to win our own games. I don't think we've got to worry about anyone else at the moment. We just carry on the way we're going, win our away games. Now we're starting to pick up points at Wembley. Come after Christmas, just see where we are, and then we can kind of make a decision, whether we're going to be up there in the title race. And the years before can only have helped us against Leicester and Chelsea. Let's face it, whatever happens, the media are going to say we bottled it. So we might as well just wait till after Christmas and see where we are.
Well, I guess, Kev, you've got to consider that City they are due a wobble. Well, maybe they could be invincibles, I don't know. But last season, we were all heralding Pep as the Messiah, weren't we? And then they started, they were 6-6, and then they sort of stuttered around this time of season. So hopefully things happen again. And I think we were the sort of impetus behind it, weren't we? Because we beat them 2-0 at White Hart Lane, and then they sort of hit the skids a bit, didn't they? And then it went up. Chelsea were just the machine while City trailed off. So I guess that's got to be the hope. Is it a case of just sort of staying on their coattails until we face them? Yeah,
definitely. I think we just got to take it game by game. I do think they're going to have a wobble at some point. They are absolutely excellent at the moment, but as some of the guys are saying, they haven't really been tested that much yet. And I think I don't particularly think their defence is that great. I really don't. I think going forward, they'll look absolutely excellent. But if you compare some of the defenders to ours and Stones, and I know they've got Kyle Walker, but I really don't think they've got as good a defence as what we have, if I'm honest. But going forward, they do look deadly. But I definitely think there'll be a wobble there somewhere. But we just got to take every game as it comes. And if we do beat United, onwards and upwards, isn't it? We just got to keep going.
And James M, in terms of the key battles for Saturday, where will the match be won and lost?
I think you look at their best players. With Pogba obviously being injured, but Lukaku is their main man. I'm pretty certain that Vertonghen and Alderweireld and Sanchez too have all got him in their pocket. He's never really done anything against Spurs, and we've always kind of nullified the threat. And so you probably have to look at the other end of the pitch and look at how the United defenders, I mentioned earlier how bad they were against Huddersfield, how the United defenders are going to cope with Harry Kane, and the answer to that is I just don't think they are. And so they're probably going to rely on David De Gea yet again, as they have an awful lot this season. And I think it's going to be another game where we look at the talisman to kind of do his bit.
There's going to be an interesting battle all season between Kane and Lukaku in the race for the Golden Boot. And Kane's brace on Sunday, it's taken him to the top of the shop. Just a full-season wonder now, I guess he is. But how much of a threat will Lukaku be on Saturday against the Belgian pair at the back?
To be honest, I think he's going to be a threat. Of course he is. He's strong, he's quick. But as the guys are saying, I think Vertonghen and Toby have held him off well every time they've played against him. So I'm confident they'll be all right. Add Sanchez into that mix as well. I reckon we look so strong at the back. I reckon we hold him off fine, to be honest. He is, of course, going to be a big threat. And they are missing Pogba, for sure. But they have other players, don't they? Mkhitaryan's good, Rashford, Martial. So we have to be on it. Be interesting to see who he plays right back. Aurier, Trippier. That'll be interesting to see with that one. Hopefully Davis is back as well, maybe, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah,
I think we certainly could do with more natural balance. As good as Vertonghen has been when sort of deputising in that left-hand role at the back, I think, especially going to Old Trafford, it'd be great to sort of hit them on the break with two natural sort of wing-backs on either side. Mkhitaryan, you touched on, he started the season well, 4 assists, but he's gone sort of quiet lately, so hopefully he doesn't repeat his feat of last season when he got the winner. So predictions for this one then. James M, I'll start with you.
You need to ask me? Do you really?
Six goals in a week for Sissoko? Is that what I'm going for?
He's definitely got the legs to do it. He's got the skill, the pace, and I think the Ballon d'Or isn't too far away as well. So it's on its way, guys. Just wait. It's coming. Okay, have confidence.
And what about yourself, Kev?
1-1 for me. I think it might be one of them games with not many chances. I can't imagine it being a great game just because of the Mourinho team. So I'm going for 1-1.
Yeah, I hope it's a better spectacle than they're offering against Liverpool, a fortnight ago. But at the end of the day, I'd take a point if it was offered now. And yourself, James T, what about you?
I think it's going to be quite tight. I'd say 1-0 Spurs. And I think picking up on Kev's point about Lukaku, I think with him, he's slightly different from Kane. And that if you cut the supply off to him, it doesn't, it pretty much cuts him out of the game. He isn't like Kane who will pick the ball up and create something and make it happen, he does rely on the service. So if we can cut down the service to him, I think we can nick a 1-0.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would continue the 100% record away, and that would leave us sitting very pretty after 10 matches. But we'll have to see what Saturday can bring us. Hopefully we get something out of it, and the pressure can be kept on Manchester City. We want them to sort of drop points at some point, but they just are rolling past all and sundry at the moment. So I think all we can do is our bit, and then just, like I say, it's the meeting when we go up against them that's going to be a pivotal tie, because then if we can sort of close the gap and get them on the ropes, then who knows what the rest of the season might bring. But I just want to touch on some off-the-pitch matters, and again, it actually links back into Manchester City. Is Kyle Walker. I don't know if you've been reading excerpts of the Pochettino book that's been done by Guillaume Bargay. It's been in the papers over the last sort of few days. But James M, Kyle Walker is saying in April that he told Pochettino that his heart wasn't here. I guess that was the writing on the wall for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really something that Pochettino sides in general have they've followed the pattern in that if a player doesn't want to be there, then it's best just to get them out as soon as possible. As it went, we managed to get a probably a better right back. Serge Aurier, I think he's a really, really good right back. Someone exactly in the Kyle Walker model as well. And so, that one worked out perfectly. This it's just you wonder how it's going to reverberate on the Danny Rose situation, because Danny Rose's heart, is it really in it? I wouldn't go as far to say that his heart isn't in it just yet. However, there's definitely signs that it could go that way. And if it does go that way, then it's kind of refreshing to know that Pochettino will ship him straight out the door. There's no messing around. He doesn't want any bad relationships on and off the pitch. He doesn't want anyone disrupting the squad. And for me, that's absolutely perfect. If there's a bad egg in the group, then get them straight out. And the rest of the lads seem to be absolutely fine with it. That they haven't really complained, and they've got their heads down, and we're probably playing better football than Man City.
And James T, would you say there's been a relatively smooth transition post Walker? Because I wouldn't say we were up in arms, but it was never sort of great to see a player leave to a title rival. But it's not been a huge drop off in quality. Dare I say even the same sort of level really. So what's your sort of take on life post Walker?
We've had a really good deal out of it, I think, to be fair. Reading the book or the excerpts from the book, it was, I think it was pretty clear to everyone that something went on last year, and now obviously Pochettino's come out through this book and said exactly what happened, was the fact that Walker didn't want to battle for his position and decided that it wasn't for him. And I think Pochettino's main issue was the timing, was that you could have waited to the end of the season, but you decided when we're still in the cup, coming towards the title running, you're saying you don't want to be here anymore. I'm not sure how divisive. This book has come out, and apparently the club have got full support for it and know everything that's in it. He obviously mentions quite a few things. He talks about Dyer and how Dyer's form dropped because Mourinho tapped him up. I'm not sure how divisive it might be to the players, but it's a strange one for Pochettino. He doesn't usually come out and say things like this. He's usually toes the company line as the stock answers. And this one's a bit of a weird one for me, that kind of the start, a quarter of the way through a season, a lot of stuff's come out, and still a lot of stuff with our current players as well. In terms of Walker, Aurier reminds me of Walker when he was younger, bad decisions at times, but athletically, top rate, very quick, probably got a slightly better touch than Walker has. I'm not sure he strikes the ball as well as Walker did, but certainly his touch and his link-up play seems better. And the things like the decisions making, that'll come, on Saturday against Liverpool. Everyone gasped as he suddenly dived in the penalty box again. And it's just that decision making that will come with experience. And I think probably in a year to 2 years time, we'll see that we've actually got probably an upgrade on Walker, I'd say.
And Kev, now we're a quarter of the way into the season and players have bedded in, especially new faces. What's your view on the transfer window that we had? Because people, by and large, I'd say they were underwhelmed because we didn't get that midfielder that we were sort of promised over sort of the long drawn out summer saga with Barkley, and there was a few sort of lights like Andre Gomez and things like that. So, but now we've got players in the team, establishing the squads. Are you happy with the transfer window that we had?
Yeah, I thought we had a great transfer window, really. Considering last season, I don't think we had a very good one at all. Really, Wanyama was probably the only real good signing we really made, and we had a really good season. So I think this year, I think Aurier definitely is an upgrade for Walker. Walker used to drive me mad last season, always an error in his game all the time. He used to just drive me nuts. So again, got 50 million for Walker. Not a bad deal there. We paid 23 or something for Aurier, which is good. Lorente, I think, was a smart signing. A lot of experience, Champions League experience as well. It gives you another option as well, which is good. So yeah, I think we had a really good transfer window. It would have been nice to get another midfielder, and I still think maybe we need something else. I reckon they'll probably go back in for Barkley in January. I would have thought, but yeah, I was pleased with it.
Yeah, James, and we was talking last week about Barkley, and we're not quite won over with whether he's needed or whether he'll actually be good for us. But I'll ask James T. Are you Barkley yes, Barkley no?
I was Barkley, yes, and I think the club were during the summer. With the emergence of Harry Winks, that's probably changed.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You might save us sort of 35 million.
Yeah, well, definitely. It depends where they want to play Barkley. I think they've got concerns over Dembele's long-term fitness. He struggles to play all of the games, and he struggles to complete a full season. Really, it's whether they're looking for that deep line midfield player, which maybe they were looking to put Barkley in there and play him a bit deeper. But as you said, with Winks coming through, that deep line role in midfield, he's made it his own, and we haven't missed Dembele. That's probably the highest amount of praise you can give to Winks. Is the last couple of games, we haven't missed him not being there. The forward drive has come from Winks, and he's had some really accomplished appearances. The only thing you could say about Barkley is if we do lose Eriksen, you probably can't replace Eriksen directly, but Barkley would be quite close to the style of play of Eriksen. So you could arguably look at that, and you don't know what the club thinks about Dele Alli, whether he's going to hang around in the summer, whether his agent or super agent or whatever they're called now, pushes him off to a move to Real Madrid or Barcelona, and we're looking for a longer term replacement for him. Barkley, I think, is a squad player. If you bring him off the bench or the amount of games we play, he's always going to get some game time. So I'm probably still for Barkley if we can get him for a reasonable price, and certainly with the upheaval at Everton, we should get him for a decent price. The only thing that would worry me is a new manager comes in, has a chat with him, and he decides to sign a contract. But only time will tell on that.
Yeah, it's a very good point you make about who is installed as the Everton boss, because that could change everything. Could change the whole complexion of whether he stays, goes, new contract and such. So maybe we might have missed out. But if Harry Winks keeps improving and keeps getting better each week, then it might not be the worst thing in the world. But talking of managers, James, and going back to the book, Mauricio Pochettino, sort of, I wouldn't say he's intimated, but it's about maybe managing England one day. And really, if you'd have envisaged an Argentinian managing England, you'd never, it would never happen. But Pochettino seems to be the kind of man who would actually fit in quite well with England. Do you not think?
I think at the moment he probably already is managing England. He's probably brought through more players than Gareth Southgate could ever imagine. But yeah, it probably would be a really good fit. It's just a shame that he's never going to leave Spurs. So jog on basically. But it'd probably be a great fit. I can see him pieing off Jack Wilshere and sending him packing. But yeah, I think he'd probably, if there's one man that could work the wonders that English football needs right now, it'd probably be Pochettino. But I can't see it happening for a little while. The relationship that Pochettino, Levy and the entire squad have at the moment, I can't see anything changing in the next couple of years.
Oh no, I don't think it would ever be in the next couple of years. It'd be nice to see, because it would be just something a bit more exciting than Gareth Southgate. But I certainly read a stat earlier. 21 of the last 30 England debutants have been coached by Pochettino. So a bulk of Southampton, Tottenham players and such. So it's already showing the effect the man is having on the national team. And I guess from our sort of point of view, I know we're not massive international football fans on this podcast, but I guess long may it continue. Another managerial link is Pochettino with Real Madrid in the Sun. Now, you can put two and two together, especially with that paper, and get about 8,000. So, again, there's probably not much mileage, if at all. But maybe he's impressed enough the Galacticos hierarchy, as if to say, could he be a future Real Madrid manager, James T?
He's certainly capable of it. He's already come out and said, he would never be Barcelona manager because of the Espanyol links, and I think he would probably one in the eye for Barcelona if he did go to Real Madrid. It's unfortunately for Tottenham, if history goes the way it has previously, then just as we're doing the best and the best to win a title, then either the media will hype him up for England and it'll all fall apart, or he'll pack himself off to Real Madrid. I think the best thing we can hope is that Zidane does really well, and apart from against Tottenham, and stays in charge. But coming out this week, Pochettino said he'd love to stay at Tottenham 10, 15 years. Levy's happy to have him. We love him. We'd love to keep him there. And he does want to build a legacy. There was a lot of, again, he's talking about in the book when he was by the gates, like Bill Nicholson, and he said, I want them in the new stadium. He's certainly got an affiliation to Tottenham. It's just whether that he can push on, it's up to him whether we win the things, really. And if we do start winning stuff and he can keep his team together and Levy continues to back him and support him like he seems to have done so far, then, why shouldn't he stay at Tottenham? Madrid's a revolving door. You don't get many seasons at Madrid. And I think Pochettino's young enough to have another 10 years at least at Tottenham before he thinks of moving on.
Well, that's right, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was in the book or something else that was mentioned by Daniel Levy, but he was it's about the Bill Nicholson picture that Pochettino saw about being outside the gates of Tottenham. And it's like, if Levy said to Pochettino, I want you to be the modern day Bill Nicholson, and you're right in exactly that. Why not stay there for 10, 15 years? It's results like last Tuesday that make you think, well, we're on the cusp of something here. It's also a measure of Tottenham's stature that now our players are getting constantly linked with Real Madrid. Our managers, in the same circles as the likes of Zidane, who's just won 2 Champions League. So, it's a nice problem to have. It's not necessarily a problem that's going to go away unless you start really winning things, Premier League title, Champions League and such. But if you compare it to the measure of where we were 20 years ago with Justin Edinburgh at left back, and you think, look at us now, and it's like,
Fred at left back.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a complaint, and you don't want to become, in inverted brackets, Real Madrid's feeder club. I'd rather have this situation and the top tier teams sort of circling over our players than what we had under sort of Christian Gross and the like. So we should never really complain, I don't think. The glass is much more full than it is empty. So yeah, there's my piece on all things Pochettino, and I think that probably wraps up the show. So just leaves me to say thanks to my guests, James T. Absolute pleasure to have you on, mate.
Thanks, guys.
And Kev, thanks for being on. Really enjoyed chatting to you tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. Lots of fun.
Not a problem. We'll be back on soon, mate. And James McCarthy, thanks again. As always, let's hope Sissoko gets the 6 goals as promised.
Make sure you slap a tenner on it, mate, because it's going to happen. I'm going to make you a very rich man, trust me.
Not just me, all the listeners. So you heard it here first. We're all going to win big this week on the pitch.
I can't afford to reimburse you if it doesn't happen.
Yes, yeah. Please don't write in any angry tweets to us or anything. So if you've got any questions for the show next week, you can tweet me at StanTracy1983. You can also tweet e_Spurs. And as always, I'll read them out and we can digest your thoughts. So it just leaves me to say, my name's Dan Tracy. This is the e-Spurs podcast. Until next week, good night.
Stop them.